This is what a high raw, high carb, whole foods plant-based vegan diet looks like. I'll show you the refrigerator, the pantry, and we'll also be cluing you guys in as to what needs to set out to ripen properly and what needs to be stored in the refrigerator. So a lot of people always ask us, do I put things on the countertop, in the refrigerator, what goes where? Why are my greens rotting? Why isn't my fruit lasting? So we'll kind of give you guys some tips to help you make your produce last so you're not wasting your money. So if you're worried about your fruits and veggies rotting, not keeping well in the refrigerator or on the countertops, I would suggest for fruits, start with berries. Especially if you're buying organic, they're going to start to mold and rot the quickest. So throughout your week, I would start by eating your fresh berries early on, and then you could move more towards the citrus, the oranges, things like that with like a tougher skin, and bananas. They're going to take a little bit longer to ripen. They'll last a little bit longer on the countertops or in the fridge. Same with apples. They can last for quite some time in the refrigerator. So start with your berries, work your way towards those other fruits later on throughout the week. So you're eating the things that will rot the quickest first. And then as far as greens, I would eat your softer leafy greens first, so like your green leaf lettuce, even your spinach, and then move on to the hardier things later in the week, like your romaine, and then kale. Kale keeps quite a long time in the refrigerator, so just kind of gauge whatever seems to be more delicate, eat it earlier on, right after you buy it, and then let some of those other ones just set there because they won't rot as quickly. The mushrooms seem to keep best when they're covered, and so what I like to do, we just got these on Amazon, so you don't have to use the cling wrap, saran wrap that actually is kind of my worst nightmare. These are really awesome and they stretch pretty far and they're reusable, so eco-friendly, zero waste, and the mushrooms are happier that way. Cucumbers, zucchinis, bell peppers seem to do the best in the drawers where they'll stay a little bit extra crisp longer. Lacinato kale, that's another one that I like to pop in this drawer right here. The butternut squash or any other types of squash go on the countertop. That will keep there probably, we've had them sit there for a couple of months and still be perfectly fine. And then mangoes, another one you want to leave out on your countertop until they get a little bit soft and almost a little bit wrinkled. They'll be ripe and juicy inside. So in order to keep the cilantro a little bit longer, we just fill a mason jar with filtered water, and just like you would with fresh cut flowers that you bring home, you snip the ends so they can drink up all of that nutritious water and won't go limp. This will last in the refrigerator for probably 2, sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes a month if you're lucky, but we really go through it quickly. We put it on our salads and guacamole and all that kind of good stuff, and juice it too. So if you'll notice in the stores, you always buy your asparagus and it's sitting in a little tray of water. Do the same thing when you get it home just to keep it alive and fresh. And yeah, a little bit of filtered water does the trick. So this is how we like to store our spinach. It makes it easy to grab this out in the mornings and pop it into a smoothie, or grab it out, set it on the counter to make your salads at night. And it'll keep for over a week like this if you don't eat it before then, which we definitely will. Over here we've got our cherry tomatoes, our heirlooms, and our Romas, and those are best on the countertop. If you put them in the refrigerator, they tend to get really mealy, kind of like a granular texture, and they're just not going to be as flavor packed. So let your tomatoes sit on the countertop. If you're not going to use them in time, I suggest making a homemade pasta sauce or blending them or juicing them into something. And then avocados, same thing. Leave the avocados out on the countertop until they get soft, and then when they do, when they've got a little bit of give, we throw them in the refrigerator, and I've actually found they get really kind of creamy then once they're in the refrigerator and you go to whip it up. So we're going to share with you guys our top 7 food storage tips to optimize your produce longevity.
Yep.
So number 1 is those berries. Rinse them, let them dry out, Put them in Tupperwares in the refrigerator, and if you can, eat them early on before you're eating your other fruits throughout the week because they tend to rot and mold the quickest.
And number 2, contrary to what most people think or have to find out the hard way, tomatoes like your countertop, not the fridge. If you put them in the fridge, they'll get mealy and weird.
Number 3, nuts, seeds, grains, and beans. Buy them in bulk, store them in mason jars in your pantry.
Okay, so we've got 2 complete protein grains, actually seeds here, quinoa and buckwheat, both gluten-free. Buckwheat is super tasty if you dehydrate it. We soak it and dehydrate it, it gets really crispy. And quinoa, we just cook it regularly. We put it in our salads or we put it with our sweet potatoes at night. Love them. Get your complete protein power here. Okay, so I'm gonna take you into our grain, bean, and nut drawers. We've got all of our grains in these ball jars here in the cabinet. You can see we've got this cabinet with these big drawers. We've got our pastas and our dried beans, black beans, quinoa here, brown rice, lentils, refried beans, everything dried goes in here. Up here on this other drawer, we've got more bulk items, the buckwheat we just talked about, and then nuts, raw cashews, walnuts, pepitas, all kinds of nuts in here. We've got some nut butters back there, almond butter. Okay, number 4, store your potatoes, onions, and garlic in a dry, dark place like the Lazy Susan. Okay, so we store our potatoes down in the Lazy Susan in the dark. I bought these from Tractor Supply Co. Like straight up farmer buckets, and that's how easy we put our onions, our sweet potatoes, everything down in there.
Number 5, tropical fruits, pineapple, bananas, mangoes. All of these are probably going to be picked early, so not picked when ripe. Here, but that means leave them out on the countertop. These fruits will continue to ripen and sweeten. So freckled bananas, yellow pineapples, and soft mangoes.
Number 6, leave your citrus out and it doubles as decor.
So we just got this hanging basket so we can load up on a lot of our citrus and other fruits that we don't necessarily want to refrigerate. But on the same token, if it is getting really, really soft and you're not ready to eat it, I would recommend eating it. That's my go-to option, to not let your fruit rot. But if you're not going to, then you can throw it in the refrigerator. But most of the time, the produce that we see in the stores and buy is picked early in order to make sure that it's hard and it's not going to bruise or rot in transit to the grocery stores. So unfortunately, most of our fruit is picked early, not when ripe. So when you buy it at the stores, you'll want to bring it home and let it further ripen. Oranges will ripen pretty well, and same with pineapples and bananas, of course. And finally, number 7, greens. Everybody asks, what do you do with your greens? Mine just go rotten and wilt too quickly. Our last tip is eat them.
Eat it up.
If your greens aren't lasting in the refrigerator, it's probably because you're not chowing down enough.
Right.
So try to get your greens in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you need to, throw them in a blender, juice them, steam them, whatever you gotta do. Get those greens in before they go rotten. If you guys enjoyed our top 7 food storage tips, we'd love it if you guys would give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to join us here at the EatMoveRest fam.
Follow us if you're not already on social media at DB Stanzik, at Aaron Stanzik.
And make sure you leave us some love in the comments below. Also, we're curious if you have any better food storage tips for us, any tricks.
Yep.
Share with all of us.
And you know the drill.
Eat, move, rest, your best. Bye, guys. So we are not in the kitchen today. We are actually in Italy.